Who stepped on my bacon? Okay, I've just about finished filing, and if you find that the edge is ground down too thin and starts to feather the edges where you got little teeth showing, just file those teeth off and clean it up with a file, get it nice and smooth again. And I think this is about as far as I'm going to go with the file. And normally I would use a drill with a sanding disc on it, and I would clean this whole thing up with that sandpaper on that sanding disc. A lot of people like to do it by hand, but you know, we're just making a quick and dirty knife, so I'm going to use, since I don't have that sanding disc, I'm going to use that wire wheel, and it's going to clean it up fast, but it'll probably leave a few little scratches in there, but I'm not worried about that. Okay, and like I said before, please use eye protection, because you know, all these sparks and everything, it doesn't feel good to get those in your eye. But when you're using a wire brush like this, these tiny little wires will actually break off, and whenever they do, you want to make sure you've got eye protection. You don't want to have one of those pulled out of your eye. Okay, I'm just using nice gentle strokes too. You want to make sure that the wheel's turning on the away from you on the far side of the blade. If you get on this side, that wheel's going to grab that blade, and you don't want that to happen, because it can knock this grinder right out of your hand, and it's pretty dangerous. But anyway, you can see this grinding wheel, this wire wheel's taking all the rust off the blade and everything, and just kind of cleaning it up a little bit. You can go back over it, like I said, with some sandpaper and make it nicer if you want. Okay, you can see I wasn't using gloves, and if you're wearing gloves with a wire brush, you want to make sure that you do not let those gloves come in contact with that brush wheel, because it'll grab those gloves and that's pretty dangerous. But you see what I was talking about with the wires that come off of there? One just stuck into my finger, and it's not too bad, but you don't want that to happen to your eyes, so make sure you wear eye protection. We finished everything we're going to do to it. We cleaned it up, filed the blade down as much as I wanted to, used the wire wheel to clean all the rust off and clean up the edges along where we ground down earlier. The handle was a little bit too long for me, so I kind of cut it down and shaped it a little bit. So now we're just going to go in and put a cord wrapped handle on there. Now that we're done with all that, we're in here, we're going to wrap the handle on this knife, and I'm going to use some 5-minute epoxy. It's a 2-part mix. I think a tube of this costs about $2 at Walmart, maybe $3. And I'm just going to use a little bit. This stuff dries pretty fast, so I'm going to stir it up and get ready to put your string on. I'm just going to put a little bit on the end of this string so that when it dries, it'll hold this string in place. You don't really want to get that stuff on your fingers, but sometimes you just can't help it. Now you can wrap this handle any kind of way you want. You can use some fancy French spiral knots, or look in some Old Navy decorative knots and you can find some fancy ways to wrap it, but for now I'm just gonna wrap it around here just so you get a good idea of what I'm doing. And you can make a fancier knife if you want to later, but it's good just to go ahead and make one just to get some practice and get the feel of it. And let me go get something to cut that with. I've got 2 wraps all the way around with the string, and I just left a little extra on the end here. I'm just going to tuck it under the last loop, and this is not really the best string to use. It kind of comes unraveled really easy, but I've got it pulled under there pretty tightly. Now I'm going to take some of this epoxy that dries pretty fast. See, that there is too hard, so I'm going to take some more, mix it up. I'm going to put a pretty good bit in here this time because I'm going to saturate all the cord with the epoxy to stiffen up that handle and make sure it never comes unraveled. You want to make sure that you stir it up really good. That way it'll all dry evenly. Once that stuff gets mixed up, that epoxy, it starts to heat up. There's a chemical reaction that takes place to cause it to harden up, but it gets pretty warm. I'm just going to use my finger and glue that last strand down. We'll cut all this off later. Maybe I can wrap it around. And I wanted to use some black string, but I couldn't find any. But this epoxy darkens this green up a little bit. Just kind of spreading the epoxy on there. You got to kind of hurry up because this stuff dries pretty fast. If you got a small paintbrush, that'll probably work better, but I'm just making do here with my finger. Just want to make sure I wipe it off with my finger before it gets hard. Okay, looks like we've got it all pretty good. Have to keep pressing this down. Make sure you don't have any drips or runs. Kind of wipe off the extra here a little bit. You don't want to get any epoxy on the blade unless you can't avoid it, because once it dries, they'll want to come off. And basically that's it. There's your homemade knife. Looks pretty cool. You can make any design you want. Just draw it out on the blade. It's easier to make straight cuts across that saw blade before you break it, and then you just grind it down the way you want it. But not bad for a little homemade knife. Only took about an hour to make. And I hope this video helped you. And if it did, subscribe to my channel. And I'll be showing you how to make some a little bit more complicated. Maybe put some wood handles on one. And we'll see you later. Who stepped on my bacon?